Hey guys, you hear about that game Dispatch? Dispatch is a game about leading your personal band of misfit, superpowered criminals to handle emergencies all over Torrance, Los Angeles. As you go through each shift at your new boring office job, you're tasked with utilizing your team's unique set of skills, stats, and hero powers to select the right person for the right job, all while ranking them up to improve their stats, taking them from supervillains to superheroes. But what if you just ignored that last part? Hi, I'm Blade of Spades, and my superpower is that I'm so much of an idiot, it wraps around to being a fucking genius. And today, I'm here to answer one stupid question. Can you 100% all dispatch shifts without ranking up a single hero? No, you can't. You get a random stat point when you rank up your career level, and that increases your hero's rank. So, yeah, it's impossible. Thanks for watching. But like, that doesn't really count, right? When I think about a rank up in this game, I think about building enough EXP by completing calls to level up the character and selecting which stat to put an extra point into. And what I want to see is if you can still perfect clear the game while ignoring all of that. So the real question is, can you 100% all dispatch shifts without using EXP? The rules for this run are simple. 1. I have to succeed every call in a shift. If a single call fails or I miss one, that's an instant restart to the last checkpoint. And 2. I cannot level up any team member for the entire run. They can gain as much EXP as they want. I'm not gonna let them use it. But since, as far as I know, you can't avoid the random stat points given for career rank, I'm still gonna use those. Until Ad Hoc lets me deny my team all forms of self-improvement, this is the closest we're gonna get to a rank 1 run. Everything else is fair game, from hero powers to power upgrades to sacrificing virgins for luck boosts. But we'll get to that later. With the rules settled, it's time to see if I can take this band of idiots and stumble our way into greatness. But before I get into the actual run, I just want to say, if you haven't experienced this game for yourself, leave. No, I'm not joking. Listen. Dispatch is probably one of my favorite games that have ever come out. The storytelling's solid, each character is super compelling, and the dialogue is just so fun.
Yep, you got me. I love gobbling on hot sloppy donuts. Love them from my mouth to my butt. How's it going? First day.
Dispatch is a story game, first and foremost, and unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to cover most of it. This script is way too long already. So, if you want to fully appreciate the game, pause here, go experience Dispatch in its entirety, and then maybe come back later. I don't know, maybe leave a like so you remember I'm here. I won't stop you if you want to keep watching. I literally can't, but I seriously recommend experiencing the game for yourself first. So I'm gonna get a coffee and give you all one final chance to leave. Alright, from here I'm going to assume you've at least seen Dispatch once, don't care, or you've spontaneously died at your computer, in which case, I hope you played Dispatch first. But now we can head into the Dispatch No EXP 100% run. Starting from episode 1, we meet our main protagonist, Robert Robertson, better known as the superhero Mecha Man. And we technically get our first decision of the run here. What type of man do we want Robert to be? I mean, yeah, most of this stuff won't matter for the actual challenge, but if I'm playing the entire game anyway, I might as well talk about it. Now, I could choose to be a strong leader, inspire my team and focus on doing good above all, or maybe I could be a wacky wild card, constantly switching between different options and keep people guessing. Or I could even just let the game decide for me and see what fate has in store for me. But instead of any of those things, I'm just gonna make him an asshole. Look, I'm about to make this man cuck his entire team from their true potential. If there was any time to do an asshole run, it's now. So after meeting the main antagonist Shroud and de-digivolving from Mecha Man to regular man, we beat up someone who frankly deserved it, get saved by our future boss, and thank her by spitting into her mouth. I also made the executive decision to burn off Flambe's eyebrows because I think he looks really stupid without his eyebrows. And Blonde Blazer, for whatever reason, believes after all of that we're the perfect person to be guiding a group of superheroes. So after obtaining our first HR violation before even being hired, she tells us exactly what we're not doing.
Plenty of time to learn how to dispatch and level up some of the heroes on our roster.
Oh, Blazer. You funny. And after putting on some Google glasses, we now head into the very first shift of the game, the tutorial shift. This shift, doesn't matter? I don't know what you expected. It's the tutorial. You can't even rank up heroes anyway. The calls have pretty obvious hints, and the hero lineup is pretty clear with who specializes in what. Like, oh man, this call needs a smart person. I wonder who I should send. Seriously, I was gonna fail this shift for a bit, but then I just didn't. So, moving on. Going into episode 2, Robert heads to SDN to begin our new role as professional idiot handler. And after meeting the best character in the game, the other best character in the game, and the other best character in the game, we finally get introduced to the Z team. Look at them. Gaze upon their glorious base stat totals of 12. Get used to these stats, because this is all we're getting. And now we have our first real shift of the challenge, the onboarding shift. Well, kinda. Most of the calls in this shift only require one hero, and the game already expects you to only have base stats. I mean, come on, we just started. But now's a good time to explain the basic mechanics behind each shift. Calls will pop up in a predetermined order during a shift, each one giving you a prompt, some hints on what stats the call needs, a certain amount of available slots for heroes, and your fate gets decided by the bouncy ball of doom. The closer the total combined stats of the sent heroes are to the call's requirements, the more likely you are to succeed. But there are two other types of calls that can appear. First, there are the hack calls. I'm not going to cover these since you don't send heroes for them. They're just mini puzzles with the dodecahedron of computer shit. You still need to do them for the 100% run, but unlike the other calls in the game, it's entirely based on me. So if I fail one of these, that's just a skill issue. Second, there are what I call decision calls. After assigning some heroes to specific calls, it will turn into this symbol, which means instead of a normal call, you have to select a dialogue option, and the call becomes a stat check based on what you pick. Theoretically, these calls should be easier since I only need a single stat to reach a threshold instead of gambling on a stat spread. But on the flip side, the highest stat I have is a 4. So there's that. For now, this isn't really an issue, but later on when some calls require, I don't know, a 10, it's gonna suck. A lot. But Ad Hoc decided to be at least a little merciful to me and implemented a little get out of jail free card for some of these calls. Some decision calls have options locked behind assigning a specific hero, and those options usually lead to an automatic pass, which means all I need to do is remember which calls happen to have these autocompletes and just send the correct hero. Now, I've seen episode 2 a lot. I pretty much have every call in this shift memorized, so this should be— wait, that needed a 4? Seriously? Shit. Okay, ignoring the fact that I'm dumb and stupid and have no idea what I'm doing, the first shift is nothing too crazy. Just like the tutorial, as long as you send the right heroes for each job, they're basically guaranteed. I do get a little lucky on 2 of the calls because I forgot there is one mission with 2 slots without an autocomplete, and I also send Prism instead of Sonar to the— I'm not gonna finish that sentence. But after passing 2 back-to-back 60% rolls, I end the shift with 3 autocompletes by Sonar, Invisigal, and Malevola. And with that, I get my first dispatcher career rank and the first random stat point, which rolls into mobility. I ended up giving it to Flambe, which probably was a mistake looking back on it. I'll explain that later. I also unlocked one of the 3 SDN pharmacy power-ups. Second Wind, or Coffee, allows me to immediately take a hero out of resting once per shift, which is gonna become very important in the future. So we accidentally fry an old man's arm, get a punch to the face that was probably deserved, and confidently lie to Blazer about our leadership skills. We then meet the other best character in the game, whose girlfriend I definitely didn't kiss, and is definitely going to have a very healthy relationship going forward. But with all that, we wrap up episode 2. Now we're heading into episode 3 and the second real shift of the game, so you'd think that it'd be a pretty easy shift, even without level ups. Do you want to guess how many attempts this took me? 2, 3, 6. Try 18! Welcome to Sabotage Shift. I don't think Ad Hoc designed this shift with the intention of it being 100%ed, and that's all due to the shift's namesake, the Sabotages. In this shift, a Z-teamer will occasionally get sabotaged by their teammate, which stops the hero dead in their tracks. Which wouldn't be a problem, except every call on this shift is meant for 2 people. So every time a sabotage happens, my success rate on a call is 50-50 at best. But all you have to do is get really lucky, right? There's nothing else to it. Wrong! I still have to deal with each sabotage because each time one happens, it creates a decision call at their location. And while it's not an actual call per se, I'm still counting it for the 100%. Luckily, each Z-teamer can get out of their sabotage pretty easily by just selecting the right option, even with base stats. Flambe blasts himself out of the tank, Golem pulls himself out of cement, Punch Up shits, except for one single character. Malevola. Each option in her sabotage has a threshold that's 1 point above her base stats, so if Malevola ever gets sabotaged, it's an instant restart. Now, I could have avoided this by giving her that random mobility point from the first shift, but that would require forethought, and I'm too lazy to reset my save, so we're stuck with this. So with the team actively working against each other, how could I possibly complete this shift? Easy. Friendship. Dispatch has a mechanic called Synergy, giving 2 specific Z-teamers a bonus to their success rate while assigned to the same call. Now, this bonus isn't actually available until the next shift, but there's a neat little trick in this shift where by sending 2 heroes in a synergy pair, they won't sabotage each other. Sure, maybe limiting yourself to these 4 specific pairings doesn't exactly create the best stat setup for a lot of the calls, and some sabotages will happen no matter what you do, but this strategy keeps 2 people on each call, giving you a way better chance of actually succeeding. But even using this as a workaround, there are still 2 calls to worry about. To make sure the player always gets sabotaged on the first call, it locks you out of sending a synergy pair, because no matter who you assign, another Z-teamer will always automatically assign themselves and is never their synergy partner. You can exit and re-enter the call to reset which random person joins, but even with that, the best pair I could find was Golem and Punch Up, which still only gave me a 40 to 50% success rate based on who gets sabotaged. So after starting an attempt, I have a good chance of just failing immediately. Even after getting past that, there's another call around the midway point where Sonar and Coupe will automatically assign themselves, and Sonar will always sabotage Coupe. And while she can easily escape her sabotage by selecting Backstroke away, that still leaves Sonar alone to deal with a landslide. And for what Pokemon taught me, Rock Slide beats Harvard Graduate. This entire shift is contingent on succeeding 2 50-50 coin tosses along with surviving the other 8 calls, all while having a ticking time bomb who can end the run instantly. And if all that wasn't enough, because of how the game registers save points, the checkpoint for this shift starts at the story scene right before it, which means every time I reset, I have to sit through the entire 1.5-minute cutscene before the shift actually starts. No, that doesn't affect the run mechanically, but I had to watch the same cutscene for a total of 27 minutes. So I'm still gonna talk about it. Even after I figured out this strategy, I still don't feel like I deserve the completion, especially considering I fucked up somewhere and sent Sonar alone on a 3-person mission with only a 20% success rate, which, by the way, I definitely didn't need to do. I had coffee, I could have just sent Malevola, but apparently he's just like that and completed it anyway. So that's a hard we take those. But by sticking to the synergy pairs and a little bit of luck, I managed to get past this shift after 13 oh my god, I cloned Invisigal. Y'all see that, right? Can I keep the clone? That would make the rest of this run so much easier. Anyway, we call the team together, send Golem to the timeout corner, and tell the entire team that they're burnt piles of shit. Very inspiring, Robert. And now we can head into Episode 3's second shift. Compared to the nightmare of Sabotage shift, Episode 3 Shift 2 is so much easier. I spent the entire shift trying to level up synergies by sending the correct pairs on calls whenever I could, because with a maxed out synergy, the heroes get a 15% bonus to their success rate. And boy will I need it. This shift also introduces hero power upgrades. There's the main hero training event, where I can send one hero to get an additional upgrade to their unique hero power, but this shift also has a special flight license event, which lets one of 3 heroes get to calls faster. I haven't mentioned hero powers at this point since they haven't really affected the past 2 shifts, but by upgrading the Z-Team's hero powers, I can make up for the fact that their stats are literal doo-doo. If you want me to do a run where I also don't upgrade hero powers, why don't you leave a comment so I know people are interested? Then get yourself checked into therapy, because that level of sadism is concerning. But for now, I'm gonna use these first 2 events to upgrade the main carries of this run. Flambe and Golem. Flambe's base hero power on fire increases his mobility in combat with every success, and by using the flight license event, we can give him Flybe, which not only is the best power name in the entire game, but will let him start snowballing more quickly. Then there's Golem. His main power, Diamond in the Rough, can let him randomly increase a stat by 2 by reducing other stats by 1, but there's no real way to control which stat buff you get, so it's very situational. What we want to focus on is his upgrade, Spread Thin. Spread Thin lets Golem increase his stats by 25% for each empty slot in the call, doubling his stats when sent alone on 4-slot calls. With these two upgrades, both of these characters can get pretty big stat totals, and you'd think that would basically take the main challenge away, but trust me, it does not. Also, side note, Golem refused to go on a mission one time. I think it's because I told him to go into timeout because, again, asshole run. But I just left and reopened the call and apparently he was over it. So, I don't know, I just thought that was weird. But as for the shift itself, it's 20 fairly easy calls and I managed to clear it after my second try. I also get my second random stat point, which rolls into combat. I decided to give it to Punch Up just so we can have a 4 in combat and vigor. I didn't really think too hard about it. With the shift over, Robert does another patented inspirational speech and helps Invisigal capture Bengal Bitch Boy.
I'm no hero. Fuck, no, let me try that again.
And now we get to what is probably the most painful decision of the run. I'm forced to cut either Sonar or Coupe. I debated it for a while, but in the end, I decided to cut Coupe and keep Sonar. The main reasoning being that the Z team, well, they're all fucking stupid. Sonar is the only character with a 4 in intellect, making him incredibly valuable for high intellect calls, and having a secondary stat in charisma is pretty good. Sure, Coupe has a 3 in intellect, and because of Sonar's power, instincts, he only has that 4 half of the time, but I was also more familiar with Sonar from my first run, and Coupe's power only helps her in mobility and combat, which kinda gets overshadowed by Flambe. I'm sure in the grand scheme of things, there's no real difference since in this run, I'm basically choosing which sack of potatoes I'd rather carry, but for now I let Coupe go and head into episode 4 where whoa, yeah, no, I am not showing that on YouTube. Adhoc, are you trying to get me killed out here? Now for shift 1 of episode 4, Hell Shift, and you can really start feeling the lack of stats at this point. Listen, I don't remember the details of what most of the calls are actually about. I don't read. My process is that I believe I'm good at video games and luck out while drowning in my delusions of grandeur. But fuck these guys and their furniture. These assholes only allow one person in a call that requires mobility and vigor, and there's not a single hero on the team that specializes in both of those stats. These guys are single-handedly responsible for ending 9 out of the total 14 attempts it took me to beat this shift, and that's because the best character I could find was Flambe with only a 66% success rate, which, can I just say, statistically, I failed twice as much as expected, so I'm pretty sure the world just hates me. And because Punch Up is pissed at you for cutting Coupe, he just straight pieces out in the middle of the shift, leaving us with only 6 people to beat the rest of it. For this shift, I try to abuse Punch Up's vigor and combat stats as much as possible while he's still here by sending him out with Prism, since Prism's power Doppelganger Illusion allows her to clone any hero sent with her with half the stats. After he leaves, it's a game of reaction time and immediately sending people the moment they're off resting. And while going through this shift, I managed to max out my first synergy between Sonar and Malevola, and I used the hero training event to unlock Flambe's upgrade, Supernova. Which, you know what, why don't I just read it to you? Succeeding twice will set Flambe's combat and mobility to max and removes rest time. Yep. I'm not even gonna bother reading the downside because if Flambe ever fails, I'm gonna have a mental breakdown. Still, even with Flambe's frankly broken upgrade, the solo missions in this run, fucking suck. These solo calls kind of expect you to have, you know, upgraded your characters, so a lot of them now just require being lucky. In fact, the only reason I got past this shift is because I somehow passed a solo call with only a 40% success rate. Thank you, Flambe. But in the end, it only takes 13 resets to get past this shift. I also end up leveling up my dispatcher rank again, which gives me another mobility stat point. And this time, I give it to Golem so we can start tackling the vigor and mobility calls. And after thanking Flambe for his work by giving him some free lunch, we get to the second biggest decision of the run. Which hero to add? The human wet wipe or the man of crippling depression? Now, as difficult as it was to choose between Coupe and Sonar, I knew from the moment I started this run which hero I was gonna choose. The man, the legend, the best hero in the entire game. It's Waterboy. I'm choosing Waterboy. There's a bunch of people that just reeled back in shock because, let's be honest with ourselves here, part of Waterboy's gimmick is that he sucks. But that's the point. Since he starts with basically no stats, you can level him up as the game goes on and distribute his stats in any way you want. But in a no EXP run, he's just a sad wet cat with his highest stat being a 2. And compare that with Phenomenon, a combat vigor and mobility character with the highest stat total out of any Z-teamer that can't even gain EXP in the first place. I mean, this challenge was basically built for him. But there's one factor that pushes things in Waterboy's favor. Hero powers. Phenomenon's power is easily depressed. Me too, man. Me too. On one hand, Phenomenon is a flying hero that only needs 2 seconds of rest, and one of his upgrades allows him to reduce the rest time of any hero he works with. The downside is that if he ever enters his depressed state, he'll instead need a full 45 seconds of rest and will immediately leave any call he's in. But that only happens if you fail or miss a call, but that's the problem. He never gets depressed. How upgrading hero powers works is that you first have to discover their base hero power before you can send them into training. But since we can't fail a single time, Phenomenon never has to go cry in the office showers or whatever he does, and so we can never get his upgrade. On the other hand, Waterboy's power, Eager Sponge, makes Waterboy force himself into a call if you ignore him for a while, kinda like me and my emotional baggage. But unlike my emotional baggage, Waterboy will also get a +1 to the highest stat needed for the call, and his upgrade Super Eager Sponge lets him increase that bonus to +3, meaning he can actually reach a 4 or 5 in certain stats that a lot of the main cast can't. So despite every single bit of common sense stating I should pick Phenomenon, I add Waterboy to the roster and get ready for the second shift of episode 4. In reality, not a lot really happens during this shift. Punch-Up's back and Waterboy's on the team, so we now have more than enough people to handle all the calls. Another hero training event appears and I try to use it to unlock Waterboy's upgrade, but I forgot you can't actually upgrade him until the next shift, so instead I get Prism's perfect copy, which now allows her clone to have the same stats as the original hero. I will say I wasn't really used to Waterboy's mechanics since I never actually used his power when I first ran through the game, so Waterboy does almost get in the way by assigning himself to a call where we need Flambe, but since you can kick him out once per shift, I just do that and send him on the next call with Punch-Up, since without Coupe, his new synergy partner becomes Waterboy. Punch-Up also gets injured. Apparently he slips on a puddle Waterboy made or something. Yeah, he kind of just hits his head. I actually use this as an opportunity and send him out with Malevola on the very next call, which unlocks Malevola's power Life Trade. Her power doesn't really do much for the 100% run since injuries don't really happen across the whole game, but I figured I'd mention it was there. The rest of this shift is just sending synergy pairs when you can, performing a couple hack calls, and playing a little minigame where you have to recall the details of some of the calls from the previous shift. And after unlocking Invisigal and Golem's max synergy, I passed this shift with just one reset. Also, Golem adopts a baby kaiju. That's not important at all, I just wanted everyone to be aware of it. With the shift over, we give Waterboy a pep talk, 1 because I can't bear to be mean to a guy who's just trying his best, and 2 because the game literally won't let me, and we go on a date with Blonde Blazer, because the only thing I love more than hating my team is giving HR a migraine, and also because I'm going for the double romance route. Still an asshole run, what did you expect me to do? And with episode 4 wrapped up, we've officially hit the halfway point. This is your designated break. Stand up, grab a drink, finish the food you've been eating the whole time, because honestly, it's starting to get cold, man. You should really enjoy it. And then buckle up, because it all goes downhill from here. Now, going into episode 5, I felt pretty confident I could get through the rest of this challenge no problem. Yeah, Sabotage and Hell Shift were that, but most of the other shifts were only taking me 2 to 3 tries at most. Then, as if ad hoc sensed my joy, they decided to fuck my day up personally with episode 5, shift 1. This shift doesn't really have anything noteworthy. There's no people leaving mid-shift or weird gimmicks I have to play around. If anything, the shift is fairly easy, except for one call. Aliens Among Us. Remember when I said decision calls were gonna suck? It's time for them to start sucking. This call gives you 2 options, one requiring intellect and the other needing charisma, but no matter which one you pick, you need a 5 in that stat to succeed. But this call only allows 1 person. Since the previous random stat points were in mobility, combat, and mobility, again, I haven't upgraded any hero's charisma or intellect, so there's not a single Z-teamer that has a 5 in either of those stats. And while Waterboy with Super Eager Sponge should be able to do it, he only chooses to get extra charisma, which power to you, man, for getting over your social anxiety, but you're really fucking this up for me, Waterboy! No matter what we do, there isn't a single hero who can get past this call, so this is it. This marks the end for the no EXP 100% run. If I was a fucking quitter!
You thought I was done with this? We've got another like 30 minutes of video to go.
Oh, but Blade, you said no one could get past this call. No. I said no single hero could get past this call. But there's only one slot. How could you send more than one person? For a random voice in my head, you sure are impatient. I'm getting to it. Let me introduce you to the savior of the run, Punch Up. Punch Up's main power Hardhead makes him immune to the effects of injuries, but that isn't the part we care about. Instead, we're gonna focus on his upgrade, Squeeze In. Squeeze In lets Punch Up create an exclusive slot for any call requiring less than 4 people, allowing him to join even if the other slots are full. And in case you missed that class in math, 1 is less than 4, but like I mentioned before, to send a hero into training, you first need to discover his base power, and normally you can't unlock it in a 100% run. Unless Punch Up just so happens to, oh, I don't know, slip on a puddle made by Waterboy, automatically discovering his power?
That's right, I did that shit on purpose.
I mean, I'm lying, I actually didn't, but I'm gonna pretend like I did. All I have to do is wait until the hero training pops up and immediately send Punch Up to unlock Squeeze In. And once he's done, give him a coffee, click on the Aliens Among Us call, and with Waterboy's Eager Sponge active, slot in Punch Up. Tell them to improvise a made-up planet, and with the 3 from Punch Up, 1 from Waterboy, and an additional 1 from Eager Sponge, we have exactly 5 charisma, which passes the check. Take that, Ad Hoc. You think your stat checks mean shit to me? I am a strategic genius. Now, could I have just picked Phenomenon in episode 4 and picked the third option I blurred out while you weren't looking to have him autocomplete this call, avoiding this scenario entirely? Fuck you, I like Waterboy. After that, it's back to the same strategy of using the synergy pairs to get past the rest of the calls, now abusing Punch Up Squeeze In to help us deal with any solo calls. We also get introduced to the first stat limit mission, where reaching a specific threshold in a stat causes you to instantly fail. These are already pretty annoying even in a normal run, because sometimes the call requires the exact stat they're telling you to avoid. Seriously, what the fuck? In this run, these calls are basically just about getting lucky. There's really nothing else I can do about them but try to get the perfect setup of heroes and pray that it's enough to pass. In the end, it took me about 7 attempts to get this shift down, the first couple to try and find that punch up strat, and the rest just getting fucked. I also max out my total career rank, which earns me the Phoenix Down item, which I'll never use, and the final random stat point, which
Mobility? Again? That's 3 mobility points. What am I supposed to... Fine. Golem gets another mobility point. Fucking whatever.
And after a quick in-game lunch break, we head into the second shift, the Blackout shift. This shift is interesting. The basic mechanic behind this shift is that the Torrents area is split between 3 regions, and you have to complete a hack call to unlock one area at a time. Once you do, you have to complete a bunch of calls which pop up in rapid succession. So I decided to start with what I consider the most difficult side, East Torrents. After completing the first call, which has an autocomplete from Prism or Malevola, you get 4 rapid-fire calls with pretty high stat requirements meant for 3 people, one of which has a combat stat limit. To get the 100% here, I can basically only send 2 people per call. I could maybe risk 1 call having an extra, but any more than that and people will get stuck on resting and I won't be able to answer all of them. I wish I could give you a real solution here, but the only reason I passed this one is because I got a mobility golem slot on the stat limit call, letting him reduce his combat. And even then, I still have to use a coffee just so I'm able to send a second person on the last call. But after you get past East Torrents, the rest of the shift is pretty easy. As much as the game wants to act like you have to rush through this, you don't have to. After you complete an area, you can just sit there. The game doesn't punish you for waiting, so you can just let the entire Z team finish resting before moving on to the next area. It doesn't really matter which area you unlock first. Both of them have most of their calls pretty well spaced out and have some scattered decision calls with autocompletes, letting you save on heroes throughout the shift. Central Torrents does have another stat limit, but I happen to luck out with Malevola and Waterboy winning the coin flip, so works for me. I also fully max out Flambe and Prism synergy and use the hero training event to finally unlock Waterboy's Super Eager Sponge, which I'm now realizing while writing this that I probably should have started with Central Torrents so that he could get that and then use it in East Torrents, but it only took 7 resets to complete this shift, so you know what? I'll take it. Now with the shift over, we can finally have a very relaxing team bonding trip to a local bar. Just a nice, calm... Oh, jeez, what the fuck? Did you just rip that augment out of her skull? Robert, calm down. Dear God, calm the fuck down! And now we head into another major story decision. Tell the team we're Mecha Man, or hide it from them. Now, if we tell the team we're Mecha Man, you end up pissing off Flambe, and he won't show up for the next shift because, well... Yeah, apparently they have history. But if you continue to lie to them, you kind of sow some distrust among the entire team. And while Flambe does show up, you can't help but feel guilty. And suddenly, all your future interactions with the team don't feel as real anymore. Luckily, I don't care about the social implications. Asshole run, baby! So as we head into episode 6, Robert immediately gets blown up and just like a real office job, still has to go into work anyway. Thanks, capitalism! Which brings us to the episode 6 shift. Since we kept Flambe around, he ends up hard carrying a lot of these mobility and combat missions, and with his reduced rest time, he takes care of like a third of the calls. There's even a mission that has a specific option for Flambe to melt some ice, so naturally I go ahead and send him to that for an easy... It's not an autocomplete? Are you serious? It's literally melting ice. He has fire powers. Why is it only a 41% success rate? Do not tell me I just lied to my entire team just to have Flambe fail me. Oh, good. I planned for that. The only other issue is that there's another stat limit call that fails for reaching a 6 in combat, which I'm gonna be real honest, Ad Hoc, you might as well not have put the second hero slot because it's nearly impossible to send 2 people on this run, let alone someone who, you know, played the game correctly. But this one doesn't have a crazy spread, letting Sonar and Waterboy pass easily. I also make the incredibly stupid mistake of sending Invisigal to hero training. Her main ability, Lone Wolf, makes it so she can handle calls faster solo, which I think gets used once in the entire run since I'm basically required to stack teammates to get anywhere, but originally I thought that her upgrade Wolfpack gave a boost to success rate when sent with other people. That's not what it does. Wolfpack gives a boost to everyone's EXP. Do you see the problem yet? So I give her ears to the ground, now letting her warn me of future calls. But since I'm resetting a lot, this doesn't really do anything, but I don't feel like resetting my checkpoint, so we're sticking with this again. Anyway, by using my coffee on Sonar, he takes care of the last call with his autocomplete, and I finish the shift after my second attempt. And really, I should have had this on my first attempt, but apparently 3 a.m. me thought bringing the Horn Dog and Anxiety Incarnate would make for a tasteful comedy roast. Get 8 hours of sleep, kids. And that's pretty much it for episode 6. Robert just heads home and gets a surprise housewarming party with the entire Z team. Everyone's having fun, enjoying drinks, everybody brought lamps. It's great! I mean, despite the fact that he's been a complete dick to everyone in his life, and we've essentially blue-balled all of them from their rank ups, the entire team has grown so much since the beginning of the game. With how well things have been going, what could possibly go wrong?
Keep up.
No!
Ad Hoc, I hate you. Welcome to episode 7. This shift has the perfect feel of trying to push through your job with this sense of looming dread hovering over you. The entire shift is slow, uneventful, and you're left with this awkward silence. There's no witty banter between the team or excitement when they complete a call. You can just feel the mixed emotions of anger, fear, sadness consuming the entire team. And even if you see nothing but icons on a screen, you can feel that people's hearts just aren't in it.
But I'm doing a challenge run, you know what I'm saying? So let's get back to it, baby!
The calls in this shift have pretty reasonable stat requirements. Despite the fact that Invisigal's gone, you can actually get a lot of near 100% success rates with just the other synergy bonuses. Just whatever you do, do not use Waterboy's autocomplete during the flooding. His power is not hydrokinesis, it's water generation.
There is a very clear difference.
Just send out a maxed out Flambe to fetch water buckets. It's not only way funnier, but his 10 in mobility from Supernova makes this an easy clear. Failed my first attempt because there was another solo decision call requiring charisma, so I thought Waterboy and Punch-Up could take it again.
They couldn't.
But I just send Sonar in the next attempt and his autocomplete takes care of it easily. I also used the last hero training event to get Malevola's Portal Ritual. Not that it really does anything this far into the run, but look, she's basically just been Sonar's emotional support the whole run. She's the only person on the team who isn't at max level. She just really needs a win right now. I do get some use out of it since Golem gets shit shit-faced in the middle of the shift, letting her heal him to create the portal. But really, it just lets her get back to base faster, and Flambe uses it to fuck around, I guess. I don't know what he's doing. I think he might have just really wanted to use the portal. I also unlocked the final synergy between Punch-Up and Waterboy, and after just one reset, I finish up the shift. Now we get to the last story decision of the run, to cut Invisigal or defend her. If you cut Invisigal, she won't show up for the entire last shift, leaving you with the other 7 for the endgame. But if you defend her, she will show up, but the rest of the team will have lower morale, reducing all their stats by 1, except for Golem. Golem's chill with it. So it's a tough choice. Do I cast aside someone who only wanted to make up for their past mistakes, or do I sacrifice the team's wishes just to save one? Oh man, you guys are right. Invisigal really fucked up this time. I mean, we just gotta cut her. We gotta. So, sorry, Vizzy. It's out of my hands now. So after Invisigal reveals that she was the one who destroyed the Mecha Man suit, she leaves in shame. And in case you're wondering, I didn't get the Invisigal romance. Turns out I made Robert so much of an asshole, Invisigal wants nothing to do with me. So the lesson here is, if you want to date someone, don't be an asshole. Unless she's Blonde Blazer, I guess. She's weirdly fine with it. So we head to a bar, kindly share our drink with the bartender, and get beat up by Shroud, which honestly I probably deserve. We then get saved by my girlfriend, who I totally wasn't planning to cheat on, and discover LA suddenly under attack by Shroud. And with the stakes higher than they've ever been, we prepare for the final episode. Episode 8. Just 3 shifts left. With Shroud's gang the Red Ring causing chaos across LA, the SDN needs all the help they can get, and luckily, they've got the Z team. With these 7 idiots, nothing is impossible. Fuck. The first shift starts with just 3 people, 4 immediate calls, and you have to survive the onslaught of calls while pulling the rest of the team together. And that, you'd think, would be the hard part. But no, scraping by with just 3 people isn't that bad. But there's one call designed once again to personally screw me over. Help Sweet Talker. Helping Sweet Talker requires an 8 in charisma, which, okay, is technically obtainable. It's a 2-person call, which means sending any team of 2 and Punch-Up with Squeeze In would give you more than enough charisma to succeed the check. The problem is there are like 4 other calls to deal with around the same time, and we still don't even have our full team yet. But Sonar does have an auto success for this call, and you can get his rescue before it pops up. So easy, just rescue Sonar and send him to the mission, right? Oh, you sweet summer child. For whatever reason, even if you get Sonar as soon as you possibly can, the travel time from the call back to base is so long that Sonar will never be back in time for the call. I have no idea why it's timed like this. You'd think that the mission with an auto success for Sonar would reward you if you choose to save Sonar first, but apparently not. I tried so many things to see if I could get Sonar to base in time, but no matter what I did, I was always off by a few seconds. I even duplicated my save and tried to run where I didn't cut Invisigal to see if maybe Invisigal's joining dialogue stalled the rest of the calls, which definitely does work, but reduced morale is ass. But during my testing, I did discover something. Sonar came back faster this time. But it wasn't because of Invisigal, it was because of Flambe. Every time I sent people on this mission, I would always send Flambe with another person, and Sonar would travel back with the other person while Flambe just zooms back to base. But apparently, if you send Flambe and only Flambe, Sonar will fucking grab his leg or something and hitch a ride with him, meaning he could get back to base and gives him enough time to rest and get to the Sweet Talker call. But to pull it off, I would need to time everything perfectly. First, send Golem to the only 3-slot call since he has the perfect stats for it, and Spread Thin will cover all the other slots. Then send Punch-Up and Prism to one of the other 2 calls on the top. They'll have about a 75 to 85% success rate, but it'll have to do. Once the team comes off resting, send the Punch-Up and Prism pair again while letting Golem handle the bomb threat. Once Flambe's tracker comes up, stall as long as you possibly can, sending Punch-Up and Prism out again for the mission nearby. If you time it just right, Golem should almost be out of resting by the time you have to take care of the tracker. After tracking Flambe with sheer omniscience, send Golem to save Flambe and Malevolence should join the team. With Flambe in our party, immediately send him to the next call with Punch-Up and Prism to get him his first stat boost and a 100% guaranteed clear. Now this time when the tracker comes up, immediately track down Sonar and send Malevolent and Golem to deal with another bomb threat, and Flambe will come back to base and resting. Use your 1 coffee on him and instantly send him to help Sonar. Then cross your fingers. This entire attempt hinges on this single coin flip. Flambe has been our main man this entire run. And now, with our backs against the wall, he's the only one that can... Shit. And after Flambe saves Sonar first try without any issues, he'll bring Sonar with him. Now with 2 clears, Flambe has Supernova, letting you send him immediately with Prism and Punch Up to save Waterboy, and finally send Sonar to the Sweet Talker call for his auto success. It's not perfect, but this strategy gives you calls with at least 70% completion rates and lets you get past the dreaded Sweet Talker call. And after 14 resets, that's the first shift of Episode 3 100%ing. But that's just the start. With our team back together, we convince Phenomenon that the cure of depression is violence and get him to join the Z team as our new 8th member. And get ready, because we're gonna need him. Once the shift starts, 5 calls will instantly appear. Send Flambe and Phenomenon to the Kaiju, since that call needs a 10 in combat to succeed, and it'll give Flambe his first success. Send Golem to escort Utopia and the Level and Waterboy to handle the stadium, using Punch Up Squeeze In to give him an extra boost. Once Phenomenon comes back, send him to the DTLA branch to handle the Witch Hunt call, since he has an auto success option for it. Wait for him to come back and then send him, Flambe, and Prism to the last call remaining to get a guaranteed 100% success and activate Flambe's Supernova. Now complete the hack call on the bottom left, and congratulations. That was phase 1. Now we get to the real part of the shift, the Coupe boss fight. The Coupe boss fight is a persistent call that allows 2 people and requires a different set of stats each time, and sometimes even has a stat limit because fuck me, I guess. To defeat her, you need to succeed her call 5 times before she gets to the other side of Torrents and sets off 4 more bombs, all while you have to deal with every other emergency, from fighting villains to saving civvies to getting coffee. Yes, the coffee's important for the 100%, but Coupe doesn't start setting off bombs until the next shift, so I have until the end of this shift to do as much damage to Coupe before the countdown actually starts. Fortunately, the requirements for the calls in this shift are pretty easy, and with our full lineup and synergy pairs, you can get a lot of 100% success rates. And Phenomenon, alright, fine, maybe I underestimated how useful Phenomenon would be in this run. This shift has a lot of high combat, vigor, and mobility calls which almost perfectly line up with his stat line, and with his reduced rest time, we can send him on a lot more missions. The main obstacles in this shift are the 2 stat limit calls that appear, defeating Mr. Fister and dealing with Smile More. Defeating Mr. Fister, great name by the way, is pretty much what you've come to expect. Limits combat, hope you get lucky. Smile More's call is a little different since it's the only call in the entire game that limits charisma, but still requires charisma? Seriously, what? Luckily, with the perfect combination of sending Sonar, Malevolent, and Waterboy, I can get a pretty clean 96% success rate. But then, I make the worst decision of the entire run. I click off the mission, assign 2 other people to a completely unrelated call, and come back to trigger Waterboy's Eager Sponge. You'd think that this is a really good idea since he would get a +3 to the highest stat of the call, making it even easier. But once again, despite the fact that Intellect is also the highest stat on this call, Waterboy has decided that Charisma is clearly the better stat, which makes him so charismatic that he would instantly fail the call. And apparently, I wasn't allowed to remove him anymore. I genuinely have no idea when I did this. I watched the entire shift like twice and I couldn't find the moment where I kicked him out with Eager Sponge, but I was now forced to send Waterboy to another call or keep him and risk rolling with incredibly bad odds. So I send Waterboy with Flambe to help the neighborhood watch and copy him to deal with Smile More, but because of my panic attempt to save the run, I miss an opportunity to fight Coupe, meaning that in the next shift, I'll have to fight her 4 times. But there was nothing I could do about it now. With one last inspirational speech, we now have the final shift. The ultimate test of strategy. 8 base stat heroes, 4 Coupe battles, and no more coming back to base. Just my team against the world. The clock was ticking. This would test everything I'd been working towards, fighting against the Red Ring with a lineup of the most unprepared fuck-ups LA had ever seen. It was gonna take planning, perfect timing, and insane luck. But even against all odds, I believed we could— oh, I did it. Yeah, I just sent a bunch of trios using Punch Up, Waterboy, and whoever else, and I just got lucky. So yeah, it was pretty easy. But now I can say, yes, you can 100% all shifts in dispatch without— what are you doing? Switch to the graphic. The run's over. I did it. What are you waiting for? What? Oh, that call? Well, once you defeat Coupe, the shift immediately ends. I just sent Waterboy and Punch Up, but since it never completes, we're good. Okay, obviously when I said every call, I meant all the ones you actually have to do to complete the shift. I can't really account for every single call. That's ridiculous. Okay, no, I made the rules. You can't use those against me. I am not going to reset this stupid checkpoint and purposely stall out the battle just to see if I could— I start the shift by sending Sonar, Punch Up, and Malevolent to fight Coupe and then throw Flambe at the first mission, giving us only a 19% success rate. And you might be thinking I'm just throwing, and you're exactly right, I am. Because for this shift, the first time you would fail a call, Blonde Blazer shows up and automatically succeeds it for you and joins for the rest of the shift. And since the call never fails, it counts for the 100%. And now we have Blonde Blazer, who is without question the best hero in the entire game. Sorry, Waterboy. You just can't argue with those stats. She can fly, has nearly maxed out stats, and has an ability that protects the entire team from injuries. With Blonde Blazer's stats, it's basically impossible to fail. Oh, what the fuck? Like I was saying, with Blonde Blazer's stats, it's pretty much impossible to fail calls. The procedure is pretty much the same as before. Send a synergy pair with Punch Up using Squeeze In for every Coupe battle, while sending all the other Z-Teamers to the other missions. But once you get Coupe to her last health bar, just sit and wait. Because now, it's not about winning, it's about sending a message. For the rest of the calls, send out the synergy pairs as much as possible and use Blonde Blazer whenever you can. Unless you're incredibly stupid like me, sending her with basically anyone should give you a guaranteed success. And watch out for injuries. Whenever Coupe sets off a bomb, any Z-Teamer near the blast will get injured, and while Blonde Blazer's shield can protect the team, as far as I know, it can only stop one injury. If anyone does get hurt, focus on healing Malevolent first, since she can now finally use her power to actually heal the team. And this time send Phenomenon to the bomb, since apparently it's a decision call that requires high mobility. So yes, technically I would have failed it on my other attempt, but shut up. We have the big strong alien man to take care of it now. While you wait for Coupe to travel across Torrents, keep sending heroes to calls as they pop up. By this point, you could start sending out the White Box of Doom. What the hell is that thing? You could start sending out people in teams of 3 for easy 100% clears. The calls have slowed down by this point, and we have more than enough people to deal with them. Once Coupe begins charging the last bomb in Central Torrents, there aren't any other calls. Immediately send the highest stat people you can get, and you should have just enough time to take down her last health bar. And with the final Coupe call complete, that is every possible call in the final shift cleared. And after one mecha anime battle for the ages and defeating Shroud with weaponized incompetence, I can safely say, yes, you can 100% all dispatch shifts without using EXP. This is the longest video I've ever made, and it was really fun to make. You'd think that this start getting frustrating with all the random chance, but honestly, luck plays way less of a factor in this than you'd think. By focusing on synergies and hero powers, you can make up the difference, and a lot of the shifts are pretty easy once you know when the decision calls pop up. Towards the end, it started feeling more like a puzzle where I had to find the perfect pair of teammates, and it was a lot of fun trying to figure out how to pass seemingly impossible stat checks. And in case you think I'm lying and that I wouldn't do something this stupid, not sure why you'd think that, this is basically my whole MO, I'm planning to post a full compilation of all the shifts, so watch out for that. But here's the thing. This run is so unoptimized. I didn't really do any prior planning before this. I just thought to myself, you know what would be really funny? If I just played the game wrong. I won't lie, I definitely didn't deserve some of my clears, and it's a wonder how I actually managed to get this far. Which is why I now pass this challenge to all of you. If anyone's interested, here's the full rule set. The number of resets to beat is 74. You don't even have to make the same story decisions I did. In fact, I want to see if this run is easier picking some different choices. Maybe Coupe was the better option. Maybe Waterboy. No, I stand by my decision. Waterboy was definitely the MVP. I don't care what the stats say, it was definitely Waterboy. If you pull it off, let me know. Leave a comment, make a video about it. I just want to see how much better a no EXP and 100% run can be. But even if you aren't planning to do this challenge, I highly recommend playing Dispatch for yourself. It's a really great game, and I couldn't even cover everything I love about it. Ad Hoc came out swinging for their first release, and this game just oozes charm. I don't think watching it from a third-person perspective really does it justice. Even if you already know the story with all the twists, I still say give it a try. Grab some friends to play it with you and experience the story for yourselves. And maybe make some better decisions than me. But for now, I could rest easy, knowing that even in the hands of untrained idiots, Torrents was safe and sound. Well, relatively. I did kind of let most of Torrents explode. Whoops.